Greetings everyone, welcome back to my channel, Grimm Reader, sorry. And I come to you with an update. I am feeling a little sick, just under the weather, just cold. And I think it's just, at the end of the semester of the academic year, I'm really depleted. And that's what you're seeing right now. I was watching my previous video before the haul and how upbeat I was about everything, and now I'm not upbeat. If there's one thing I'm not today, it's upbeat. So this is also the hair, whatever, it was cut differently than the last time, so now it's kind of going crazy. But we're not going to worry about any of that. We're just going to give you a little update on everything. So as I said, the semester is drawing to a close. On the 20th, I leave for Germany to be with my sister and then also to take care of her cat while they attend a wedding in Budapest. I will cat sit and stay in their place for free. It'll be my little Airbnb while they're there. And then on both ends of the trip, I'll stay in hotels. And the second hotel, it'll be interesting because it's near the Rhine River. Wiesbaden's a little in from the Rhine River. And then you can go down to the Rhine and it has its own little area called Biebrich. If you've been to Trader Joe's and had their German type cava, Prosecco, champagne, it's called Schloss Biebrich, Castle Biebrich, and that's where I'll be staying, near the castle. And I'm looking forward to that too. So that'll be nice to go there in May, just have a nice little holiday. I am definitely a little under the weather though. So let's get into my reading. I'm trying to keep up to date with my little booklet here, which is helpful. So in the meantime, I finished the Small Bone book. I read it, and I highly recommend this if you're into British mysteries of so soon. It takes place in the early 50s, I think, like right after the war, sort of still. And it's all about this law firm and the sort of eccentric characters that are associated with this law firm. And it's really well done. And it's, so Donna, thank you so much for recommending this to me. And I will read more Michael Gilbert. I thought this was fantastic. Sort of well written, well plotted. You were kept on your toes as to what's going on, and the characterization was pretty good for like such a short novel with a lot of people in it, because that's how detective novels are. And I like the main guy, like the detective Hazelrig, and then his sort of sidekick guy who comes in to work for the law firm, has an interesting background. And yeah, so highly recommend that. Now, one thing that happened that I don't have the book with me anymore because it's in the box, but I think I might pull it out, is I ditched listening to Lawrence Durrell's Justine, which I thought I would love, but maybe it was just the time and the mood, but I didn't really care for the sort of overly sensual, we're in this oriental, for lack of a better term, place, which I don't want to come down too hard on its Orientalism, although it is there. I mean, it is a sort of, it's a British person telling the story of this city that he's in and these people that inhabit the city. So it is sort of a question of how othering it is. But I think it's sort of more complex than that. I think it's more an issue of the prose is very, very ornate on purpose and very sort of poetic and lush. And if you're in the right mood for that, I think it could be great. On the other hand, for me, it kind of got to the point where, is there any there? These the metaphors are strained, and to really pick them apart and figure out what he's trying to say, sometimes you're like, oh, that's a great metaphor. And sometimes you're like, what? What? Excuse me? And also, I just didn't really care for any of the characters, and I didn't really care for the portrayal of women. I thought it was reductive and sort of male-centered, not realistic, or just the women he's interacting with are just, I mean, I don't know. And even the main lady, who I just got slightly introduced to, they seem a little bit, they're really kind of, the male point of view is overbearing to a certain extent, I thought. Anyway, the little bit that I read, the pages, I got a little ways in. So it might just be a mood thing, but it might just be a me thing. I much preferred Olivia Manning's sort of clear-eyed, okay, I am who I am, and this is my take. And also she's sort of, it's different because she's not in there yet. And the next set of novels will be in the Levant, but it's also sort of, okay, this is British-centric fiction of a different place, so it does have the othering. But her point of view was, at least she's got this sort of like, okay, these are annoying men, and I'm a woman viewing them. I'm like, yeah, okay, I can handle that. But to be, you know, a man falling in love with a lady, sensual lady, I don't know. The point of view was just kind of like, okay, whatever, main guy of the book. I wasn't having it at that point. So I let it go. And so something completely different then caught my eye, I think, yeah, because we had it or something. And it's this nonfiction book about the beginnings of Australia, my homeland, by Thomas Keneally of Schindler's List fame. And this is a competent, good 4-star read of the beginnings. In a way, I like the stuff at the beginning when they were like figuring out that they would decide to make Australia a penal colony were the most interesting, which is sort of strange because you'd think the stuff in Australia would be more interesting. But I think for some reason, I think the writing lost its touch there, and sort of the interactions, it was strange. Like the stuff in Australia felt limited. Maybe it's because of the sources he had. Like there was a lot of stuff about Philip and his interactions with a couple of Aborigine people, which were interesting, but also sort of the thread kind of got lost a little bit. And of course what was interesting is how Philip was, for who he was, you know, a British naval officer, he was kind of fairly understanding, or not understanding, that's the wrong word, but he was sort of intrigued and quite accommodating of the Aborigines, to a point, of course, and the other people were way less so, of course, and then later on much more so. So that was sort of interesting. What was lacking was a clear sense of what the penal colony people actually did, how they set about building their houses, and who, I mean, it was all just assumed that this is what happened. And in a way, I wanted a more day by day, okay, they get off the boat, they go build their houses, some of them die because of one theme of it all was that they were close to hunger for a very long time because they were very reliant on the rations of what they had brought with them. And of course, I guess they were trying to get the farming going, but in a way I would like a book more about like, why was that so hard for them? Like, because now we associate Australia with a lot of good food and interesting fruit and abundance of that kind of stuff. So anyway, there were sort of things that I would have wanted more of, and perhaps other things less of. But in general, quite good, quite listenable. A good listen, and I'm glad I have the book to sort of look at the pictures and just kind of go in there and see some of the stuff. And then what happened was, so the other thing I've been doing the whole time, and it's sort of, you know, work too, but fun work, is reading Kafka stories with my independent studies student. We read Metamorphosis, The Judgment, a penal colony story in the penal colony, and now we're going to read something else. And then we also read a story by Thomas Bernhardt. So thinking through these writers and sort of finding my way back into their world and what makes them special has been an ongoing thing. And I just don't have the wherewithal or energy to speak to what I think makes them special right now. I'm just not feeling well enough to do that. But I might come back to, especially Kafka. He's great. I mean, he is amazing. He's just amazing. And one text that the student brought to my attention was a short one by David Foster Wallace, Laughing with Kafka. So the fact that American students don't get how funny he is, which I completely see, because they're like, they lack so much context in terms of, like, was he German? What was he? Why was he writing in German if he lived in Prague? You have to sort of add a lot in. And then the strangeness of the stories, which they're not used to, I could really see it would be quite difficult to teach Kafka. You'd have to do it in a certain way, perhaps by reading the article by Foster Wallace. So that's been going on. And it's almost at its end, but that's also been sort of extra work for me. In general, the semester has been tougher than I thought it would be, teaching 3 of the same class. It still means teaching 3 courses back to back, which is tiring. And yeah, it's okay. So the newer things that I'm reading are, after sort of experimenting. I've started The Passion According to GH so many times, and it's never the right time. I think I thought it might be the right time because I just was reading the Metamorphosis, but I start it very slowly, and I like what I read, but then I get distracted because of work, and so I'll come back to it. And I'm still slowly making my way through my big read of Miss Mackintosh. I read a couple of pages, and they were good, but I set it aside too just because it's going to take me forever. Well, my new listen is a trollop. Sick editing Kathy here to tell you that the name of the trollop that I'm talking about is He Poppinjoy, published in 1878, and I don't know where in the over, but that doesn't matter. So that's the title. Anthony Trollope, one of my favorite writers, and unfortunately it's not Simon Vance. It's a lesser narrator, so it's taken a longer time to warm to him, but the book is really, really good. I don't know where it falls, if it's early or late. I think it might be an earlier one, but it's like got all the essential things that we like about Trollope. It's moves you along plot wise, and it has good characters, interesting characters, or interesting enough. And so I'm really enjoying it. And then I had it on audio, and I'm like, oh, I need a copy. And I was shocked to find out that there's no Oxford one of it, no Oxford Classics one, and even no Penguin. It's for some reason, and I don't know why, because this is good. I mean, Oxford, get on that. I think I would have bought if they had an Oxford one. And so it was hard to find a good copy. So, this is the title. This part of the video is called A Plethora of Poppinjoys. First of all, the title is hilarious. Is he Poppinjoy? Because that's the Lord, and it's one of those things. And so I got this weird copy from Thrift Books. And the best thing about it is this cover picture, which it does seem to be showing one of the two main characters who are married to each other. And I do like this portrait of them. But it is just a reprint, and it's a terrible reprint in the sense that there's little weird things like hanging letters, and I can't even show you. Like, you see there's a T somewhere. Yeah, you see that T there. What's that T doing there? And just mistakes abound, and like the way the chapters are set off. I mean, it's just very, very cheaply done. And the book itself wasn't that cheap, and it's big. It's like one of these oversized reprints that they do. I mean, I guess we're glad that we can do this, because it gets we can then read these, people who like to read on in a book as opposed to on a Kindle, which I guess it would be like this on the Kindle too. And so I scrounged around because I want a better copy, and I regret this one. And then I found, for almost the same price on Etsy of all places, a folio edition of Poppinjoy, and I decided to buy that one. Anyway, so that's coming. So there's the plethora of Poppinjoys, and then there's the last chapter is Too Many Ivanhoes, because what happened with Ivanhoe is I've wanted to read a Scott for years. We went to, I don't quite remember when, we went to Half Price Books, and I got this nice, I think it's a folio edition of Ivanhoe by Sir Walter Scott, written in 1819, my first Scott, who I think is going to be a favorite. Not quite at the level of Trollope, but his writing is interesting. It's good. It is overwritten in this quasi transition to Victorian way. Also, Ivanhoe is a historical fiction, so it takes place a lot earlier, like kind of Robin Hood times, 1100. I want to get a little bit more knowledgeable about the history of it's the Crusades and stuff like that. And anyway, so it's sort of, the tone is already 19th century, but I think he's added it even more so because it's taking place in the 1100s. So the language is sort of overly stylized, let's put it that way. But it's good. And another thing that's happened, it just reminds me, I might be joining a group of people on campus who are going to read about research on reading habits and why people don't read anymore. And one thing there that I'm mainly interested in is deep reading, or sort of reading challenging works, and how few people give themselves the time to, and Scott's not hard at all, but his idiom isn't that easy to our modern sensibilities. So I find myself slowly getting into it. And I'm someone who's pretty well versed on things like Trollope. And one thing, just a general comment, I know that my students tend to think anything before when they were alive, which is, 1999, is old. It's all just old. Or really old. And that's like 1950s. Like even anything before, and once you get into a different 2 centuries ago, it's all just a big amorphous. They don't know they don't contextualize, or they're not unless they are, history people. And even there, they hone in on little things, and then they don't have a broad understanding of it. And so I'm really interested in this group that might happen when we read about, reading habits, or think about how to improve it for undergraduates, which for me, I'm leaving it, but it still means I can sort of talk to people about it, because it is something I'm interested in. And even for my own self, there's a reason why I had to sort of set these harder books aside, or set Proust aside. I'll come back to Proust. What would the world be like if more people appreciated things like Proust? And there is the question of, is it necessary to appreciate Proust? Maybe not Proust, maybe he's a bad example. But so few people appreciate the act of reading difficult works of fiction. Back to Ivanhoe. So I have this copy, and then of course I forgot that on my shelves I have another paperback copy, which I don't find right now. I have a Penguin copy, and that's nice. But I have the audio as well. So, three Ivanhoes is enough, audio and two hard. And the good thing about having the Penguin is I might just take that to Germany if I'm not done. Because I've kind of given up reading on the Kindle completely, for now at least, until I have to because of my eyes, I guess. And one thing is, maybe it's the astigmatism, but I love reading with a ruler, which is another reason why I'm slow. I read everything with a ruler, and it's just more enjoyable for me that way. I don't know. And so, yeah, those two things are going well. The Ivanhoe is very slow. I'm really only still at the beginning, but I'm enjoying getting to know the characters there. I don't think I've even met Ivanhoe yet. I think I'm still on the other people. It's funny reading some of it. Some of the sentences, it's like you sort of see Errol Flynn in these old-timey movies. That's what it sort of sounds like a little bit. But yeah, I hope everyone's doing well. Sorry for this sort of messed up update, but yeah, I will be back, and I'll probably make some kind of content related to the Germany trip. And tell me all how you're doing. And I hope to get back more into commenting on other people's videos. But I get a sense that we're all sort of struggling a little bit now because of life being difficult. And even with the Germany trip, there's a little bit of trepidation on, coming back, but not that much, really not that much. I mean, I think everything will be fine. I will talk to you soon, and hopefully with a little bit more energy. I'll see you. Goodbye.